If you are in the process of wanting to sell or purchase a property here in Abbotsford, this is a video you're going to want to watch because I go over all what's happening here in the real estate market, over what strategies are working the best and where the opportunities lie, especially if you're thinking about upsizing. There's a couple that I want to point out here. And so first off, I want to go over the real estate market as a whole, what's happening here in Abbotsford, and then get more into the nitty gritties of the detached, the townhome, and the condos, and then go over those strategies that I was talking about. And at the very end, I want to show you some real estate tools that if you're a first-time home buyer, I truly believe that you need to be using this tool to help you understand the real estate market. And so the first thing I want to talk about is prices, because that's what everybody wants to know about. Prices are on their way down. It should come as no surprise. And ever since really 2023, prices have been on a steady decline. I imagine it's mostly going to happen for the remaining of 2026. And so just keep that in mind when you're thinking about your buying and your selling plans. Next one here is sales. And so it's going to be interesting here as we continue on these graphs or these charts, is we're going to notice, and I've seen this time and time again, is that more or less the markets, the trends, they all do the exact same thing year over year, right? And the only one that doesn't really do the same thing is prices. That's the one that's kind of living on its own island, so to speak. And so as we can see here, sales, right? We're now in July, sales have come down. And this shouldn't come as a surprise. We see that every single year, right? Prices, kind of the sales cycle, I should say, is in the beginning of the year, sales go up. Everyone's excited to sell their home. And then essentially when we happen is once summertime hits, a lot less sales happen because everyone's out doing things. They're out on vacation. They don't want to think about selling or buying a home. And then September comes and October comes. We see a slight uptick, right? And so 2024, again, slight uptick. This is 2025. We've seen that the initial peak of sales, and then it goes down, and then we see a little uptick. And so we're most likely going to see the exact same thing happen here. And so keep that in mind when you're thinking about, the next quarter, the next 4 or 5 months here of either buying or selling a home. New listings, same thing. We're seeing less new listings hit the market right now. Nothing to be alarmed with this one here. Active listings, this is the one that's, trending upwards here. And if we span it over the last 25 years, we can see that we're not quite at the levels of 2008 to 2012, but we are gaining. And so what that means for you as a seller, you're gonna have more competition, more people. Like if you literally go down your street, I imagine you can see a couple for sale signs on your street. That should come as no surprise, right? And so you're gonna have more competition. You need to stick out. You need to make sure your home is sale ready. You need to have a structured plan. And so keep that in mind. Now, if you're buying, and this is what I'm telling all my buyers out there, is that you can wait. Like there's lots of options. Prices are going downwards. I imagine prices, in my opinion, is going to go down even further for the remaining of 2026. 2027 is yet to be determined, but that's essentially what's I've been telling people. Sales to active listings ratio. So this is just a ratio between how many actives are out there and how much is selling. And so if there's lots of inventory and nothing selling, well, then it's more of a buyer's market. But if there's lots of inventory and lots of selling, well, then it's a seller's market. And so they just round that up to a number. So 12 to 20% right now is about a balanced market. Anything above 20% is a seller's market. Anything below 12% is more of it's a buyer's market. And so right now we're on the verge of being a buyer's market. Now, this is what's happening as a whole, right? We're gonna get into the details here of the detached townhome and the condos. So stay tuned for that, but that's essentially where it's at right now. Days on market, 24 days, right? I had a listing appointment the other day and it was like, oh, how long is it gonna take to sell my home? Well, here in Abbotsford, it's taking 24 days on average, right? Not the specific, property type, but the average. Now, this is the most interesting one that I was like talking to buyers with, is because they always ask me, Rich, how much can I get off the purchase price of a detached or a home or whatever? Well, right now you can expect to get about 2.9% off, right? So what does that translate into? Well, if you're buying $1 million home in Abbotsford, you can get about $29,000 off. That's what's going. And so that's what's happening here as a whole. And now I want to get to more specifically the detached, the townhome, the condo, and I want to show you where the buying opportunity or the strategy opportunities is, because in this data, it's very interesting and it kind of tells a telltale sign of what to do if you're in this situation. And so first off, I want to start off with the HPI price, right? Let's go back to the beginning here. And as you can see here, the detached market is decreasing. The townhome market is decreasing. Everywhere is decreasing, right? Even if you look over here, 7.6% decrease. Detached, 8.7% decrease, almost a 10% decrease in the apartment. And so everything is going down. And so if you are a seller and you're trying to sell your home right now, or detached or whatever it is, we can expect with most certainty that prices are going to continue to go downwards. And so what we don't want to happen to you is that you have your house here, it's not selling, right? But the market is down here, right? And the market is slowly going this way, right? And so what could happen is a month goes by and the market's down here, but then you adjust your price to where it should have been a month ago, and then you just end up chasing the market down. And then fast forward 5 to 12 months, whatever it is, you're gonna get less money for your property. And so it's just keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to buying, it's really hard to sell when the bottom is. You don't know what the bottom is until it starts going up. And so right now we're going downwards. And so you have time, you have options. I wouldn't rush in anything right this second, but that's what I would say to you. Now, going over to sales, right? Let's just zoom this in a little bit. Lots of information here. As we can see, we're kind of hitting the same thing, right? Sales have gone up and now they're going to go back down. And so again, if you're in any of these markets right now, whether buying or selling, there's less sales happening right now. So if you're a seller, expect less activity. If you're a buyer, well, no one's buying anything, so you can probably get even for a more reduced price. But again, it just depends on what the sellers are wanting, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to both come to an agreement, So new listings here, kind of same thing. As you can see the trends here, the exact same thing happens every year. And so right now there's less new listings hitting the market, which kind of translates into, less active listings essentially happening. But again, when we look over the last, 25 years here, detached isn't quite as high as before. And so we're not like, if anything, it's nothing to be alarmed about, but there's more inventory for you to pick if you're a buyer, and there's more competition if you're a seller. That's really what it translates into. And then sales to active listings ratio. And so this is the one, which is interesting, right? So right now, apartments here, they're at 14.5%. The townhomes are at 13%, and the detached. So the detached are basically taking the biggest beating. Townhomes and apartments, they're not that close, but they're fairly close, right? So essentially, again, this is how many things are selling per how many actives they are in each of these segments, right? And so days on market, right? Actually, the detached market kind of plummeted there a little bit. So, and this is one thing I want to be crystal clear about, is that this is like 1 month's data. And so we kind of have to look at the data as a whole, right? Because you could have a bunch of properties that sell really quickly, but it's because they were priced really well. And then it drops the days on market, or the medium days on market, down. And so it's something to think about with that one. So the last one here I want to show you here is percentage of original price, right? So how much is the property selling for based off the original price? And so townhomes are holding the truest. Detached and apartments are pretty much neck and neck here. And this is kind of where we're seeing the opportunity here, right? So sales active listings ratio, the townhomes and the apartments are kind of holding true. And so what the biggest opportunity I see right now is that townhomes, right? When we look at the percentage of original price, the sales active listings ratio. So if you have a townhome and you're looking to upsize to a detached, it is a better time to do that, right? Because you are getting more money for percentage wise for your townhome than you are your detached. And so it just becomes one of those things. It's like, well, if we were thinking about doing that, well, maybe it's time to do it sooner, or maybe it's time to just really start thinking about what that looks like, right? And see if that's an option for you. So keep that in mind. But essentially, that's what's happening here as a whole in the Abbotsford real estate market. Now, I want to show you those real estate tools that I think every first-time home buyer, especially first-time home buyers, needs to be using. But obviously, before I really quickly show you that, is this graph right here. This graph here, again, lives on my website. You can literally compare, if you wanted to compare detached, prices to like Mission. Well, you can see here, Mission's this price, Abbotsford's this price. Or if you want to compare it to Langley, Aldergrove, Surrey, whatever you want, you can literally compare it, see what the differences are across all different types of metrics. It's super handy and super helpful. But if you want to get these market reports sent to you on a monthly basis, you literally just click these options here, click the ones you want sent to you, put in your information, download the reports, and then after that, I'll be sending you these reports on a monthly basis, so you don't, have to worry about what's going on because you have someone sending you some reports. So that's super helpful. And then the other one here, let me back up real quick. Actually, there's market reports. If you're wondering what those market reports look like, this is essentially what they look like. So we're here in Abbotsford. Lots of numbers here, but it really breaks down what's happening here as a whole, and then obviously gives you a big picture, as I was alluding to, or not alluding to, but showing you earlier, is that prices have been going down here over the last little while. And so that's that market graph. And then the other tool here is a home evaluation tool. I think these are a super cool tool, and they're super accurate. Like, I've used this thing hundreds of times and I'm always blown away how accurate it is. And so what you can see here is you put your address in, you put your details in, and essentially it tells you instantly how much your home is worth. It takes all the actives, all the solds in that area, compiles it, gives you a number. And like I say, I'm always blown away how accurate it is. And so full transparency though, I do get your information. Me and my business partner, Clark, will be reaching out to you if you have any questions. We can answer them. If you don't have any questions and you're just more curious, we'll go on our way. Not a big deal. But this is the last tool here, the true cost calculator, that I think every first-time home buyer needs to be using. Real quick, there's a bunch of more things that it can be used for. The sale tab. So basically, if you're trying to sell your home, you're wondering what the costs are associated, how much money you would have at the end of the day, you can use that for that one. Now, if you're buying a property as well, or if you're just buying a property by yourself, you can see how much costs are associated to buying a home, because again, we don't want any surprises when it comes to purchasing a home, right? You want to understand all the costs so you can be confident and comfortable moving forward. Now, this is where it gets more to the first-time home buyers. If you've never owned something before, how do you know how much it's going to cost per month? And so this Own tab literally breaks down all the costs. You just got to fill it out line by line here. If it's a stratified property, you can click that button, fill out the strata fees. A lot of this information lives on realtor.ca, and if you need help with it, just let me know. I'm super happy just to give you my assistance with that one. And this is the last one where I was talking about, most crucial, I would say, because right now the banks, the lenders, they'll tell you how much you can afford on a monthly mortgage payment, but they're not factoring in your lifestyle costs, right? Because you could be going to Starbucks for $1,000 a month, and the bank doesn't know about that because it's a variable cost that they don't look at it that way. And so what I would want you to do, and I'm getting my new buyers here that I just onboarded, is that I want you to go back your 3 months of data of how much you spend every month and literally figure out the average. Once you have the average, you can take the Own tab, which is all these costs here, which will automatically spit it there, and then put in your take-home money, so this is after tax, fill out all the expenses here on an average basis, and that's going to tell you if you can actually afford this property. Because again, the lenders will tell you can afford it, but can your lifestyle afford it? And so what it does here, just takes all that information, and then it tells you, hey, you're going to have $100 over at the end of the month if you can continue to do your current lifestyle, or if you purchase that home. Now, it could say, hey, you're over by like $200 a month, you're going to be losing $200. That's not really ideal, especially if you didn't know that. But that's the tool here, so go check this one out. Again, links in the description. It's super helpful, super handy. But now if you are going to open houses, checking them out, I want to encourage you to watch this video right here. It's how to spot a bad house in 60 seconds, where I literally go over everything that you need to be aware when it comes to owning a home, the things to be looking out for. And so go check that one out. But as always, I appreciate you watching, sticking around with me, and I'll see you in the next one.